Hello, and welcome to Hadassah on Call, New Frontiers in Medicine. I'm your host, Mayan Hoffman. Last month, I had the privilege of traveling to Brussels in Belgium to visit the Pfizer factory, where the first coronavirus vaccines were made. I saw the assembly line. I got to go into the packaging department where they shipped those first boxes of vaccines to the state of Israel that led the vaccination campaign and became known as the Vaccination Nation. It demonstrated to me something really important, that the miracle of modern medicine. And I'm so privileged every month to be the host of this podcast where we speak about the miracles that are happening at Hadassah and in Israel all the time. I have with me today somebody who really represents the best of what we would say is Israel at 75, Israel the innovation nation, Israel the startup nation, scale-up nation, and the nation that is a light unto the nations, that helps with medical innovation, that goes around the world and puts up field hospitals, that helps patients from Ukraine that are coming to this country suffering during the war. So with me today, I have a very special woman, doctor, and medical professional, Professor Polina Stepensky, head of the Department of Bone Marrow Transplant and Cancer Immunotherapy. Welcome, Professor Stepensky. Now, you were a guest on our podcast in 2020, and on that episode, you mentioned new technology that would allow you to create genetically modified T cells that are personalized to attack cancer for individual patients. So it seems fitting that we start by discussing how you've adapted CAR T cell therapy to international success.
Thank you for this question because it is the main field of my expertise right now. This is the main work that I am doing on the daily basis. So the idea of CAR T cells was born in Israel at the end of 80s by Professor Zeli Geshar and Professor Gross. And what does it mean, CAR T? Chimeric antigen receptor. And the name exactly is speaking about the nature of the cells. So what we are doing, we are taking the cells from the patient and we are taking his T cells, the cells of his immune system. And we are performing genetic engineering of these cells. So we are inserting inside the virus, inactive, not dangerous virus, which carries on the virus the part of genetic information which encoding the protein against the oncogene, against the protein which expressed on the cancer cells. So few years ago, it was like a science fiction, but now it is our reality. A few years ago, even some kind of CAR T cells were included in our health basket. So it's approved by FDA, it's approved in Europe, and it is also the part of our health basket. And we were able to give these cells to our patients who are suffering from lymphoma or acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And what we are doing in this case, and it's commercial, the cost is very high, but it's paid by our health insurance. So what we are doing in this case, we are collecting cells from the patient and we are sending these cells to some factory in Europe or States, and they are performing themselves this genetic engineering. It can take like 1 month, 3 weeks, and finally the patients will receive the cells, and these cells supposed to kill the cancer cells. So the cost, only to understand the cost in Israel like close to 1 million shekels.
Wow.
So in US and Europe is 340,000 euro dollars, respectively. But so it is very expensive. And what I thought a few years ago, that it's impossible that we are a startup nation and we don't have any our own blue and white CAR T cells. So it's impossible. For us was clear that the CAR T therapy for lymphoma and acute lymphoblastic leukemia is already in our health basket. So it's not our focus. We have to be focused on another disease. So we decided to focus on another disease, multiple myeloma, which is very common hematological malignancy. It's close to 1% of all cancer diseases and 10% of all hematological diseases. And unfortunately, it's incurable disease. So when I graduated medical school here at Hadassah in 98, the median survival of these patients was 2 years. Now, due to all this fantastic development of different cells and different approaches, the median survival is 10 years.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. I completely agree with you. But finally, all our patients experienced relapse. And in this case, we need some treatment to give them. So it is a cause why we decided to focus on this unmet need and develop our own blue and white CAR T cells for multiple myeloma.
And you're using the CAR T cells for multiple myeloma at the 10-year mark when they start to relapse? Is that when they get treated with it?
Exactly. We are using these cells only for patients who experienced relapse or who are refractory for any previous therapy. And we have these patients, unfortunately.
Now, I understand that not only are we using it here, but in fact, it has now been being used in the US, or it's being tested in the US. Tell me what's going on with that.
You know, when we are producing CAR T, we have to put inside some construct. And this construct is unique in every case. Okay, in our case, we have patent for our own construct. So what we are doing, it's not done in any place around the world. Very similar constructs are using in US, and they started long time before us, and they did many clinical trials in different places, and now they have even approval of FDA for some kind of CAR T for multiple myeloma. But first of all, it's very expensive. Second, even if it's approved by FDA, they don't have enough slots for patients. So they don't have enough places where they are able to provide these cells. So according to literature and to last manuscripts, in US, if somebody from relapsed or refractory myeloma patients need CAR T, only 20% of them are able to receive. And it's not the situation in Israel now.
How many percentage in Israel can receive? Everybody?
Almost, yes. All our patients who are eligible according to inclusion criteria of our trial, they are able to receive the therapy.
It's covered through the health fund.
Absolutely. 100%. Treatment is not covered by health fund because it is clinical trial, but the patients, it's absolutely, for patients, it's absolutely free of charge. So the costs of clinical trial were covered till now only by a donation of Hadassah. Okay, all money came from Hadassah women. It's amazing. So I want to thank, because only with this kind of help we were able to develop this therapy and to give it to our patients. Only now our Ministry of Health started to support us and they started to give some money, but we treated already more than 70 patients with multiple myeloma, Israeli patients.
And now there is a clinical trial going on in California as well.
Exactly. So a few months ago, one Californian-based high technology company, biotechnology company, bought our license for patent, and they are going to start with clinical trial in US. And the final goal of this company is to receive FDA approval for commercial product.
Of your product.
Of our product.
Of course. Tell me, do you have a memorable patient, somebody that you can think about that's been treated with this therapy success story?
Absolutely. In the beginning, when you are starting with something, you don't believe that I believe that it will be successful, but you have to get this experience and to understand when it will work. And it was a huge surprise for us because we started with patients which were very, very bad. One of our patients, he came to us, he was the first patient who received this target dosage, 800 million, because it was phase 1 in the beginning. So we started with low dose and we gradually increased the dose. This is the usual construction of clinical trial. So the first patient who received 800 million was a very nice person, and we knew him for many years. He was treated for myeloma at Hadassah. He's from Rishon LeZion, from the center of Israel, and he is a retired policeman, as we have this expression in Israel, like salt of the country. And he came to us after many lines of therapy, and practically he was sent already to palliative care. And we gave him CAR T, and it was amazing. So he developed full remission, and he is still now in the remission.
How many years is that?
It was in October 2021.
And he was in palliative care, you said, so he was expected to die and alive today.
Yes, definitely. He's not only alive, he has very good quality of life. What in my eyes even maybe more important than only life, because he's traveling and he is going to all events and he's very active. So he has practically a normal life without any therapy. So they don't need any therapy after CAR-T.
After they finish the treatments. So many of us have loved ones and friends who are fighting cancer, or maybe we've had cancer ourselves, God forbid. What do you see as the future? Will we get to a place where this will be less of a phenomenon?
I graduated medical school here at Hadassah in 1998. So the area of oncology was completely different. And I think it's amazing what happened during this time. Because in the one absolutely new ground in the field of oncology was developed during this time, and it is immunotherapy. What does it mean? We are using our own immune system to fight cancer. So we have some commercial drugs, and they are already approved by Health Basket. But I think the future is to develop these live drugs. Okay, so we are taking the cells, we can modify them, we can do some genetic modification, and we can give them back. So finally, I hope, and it looks like we are able to develop these drugs for any kind of oncogen, any kind of protein, which are expressed by cancer cells. So I think it is the future, and it is something small that we are as researchers can also to do by ourselves. Because usually we are dependent from pharmaceutical companies. We are completely dependent of them, of the development and clinical trials, etc. And in this case, we were able to do something by ourselves.
Now, aside from your work in combating cancer, you've actually played a pretty key role, from what I understand, in the lives of children from the former Soviet Union. Tell me a little bit about your life-saving work treating children who suffer from rare diseases, one I understand that can cause blindness, deafness, eventually death.
Yes, so it was like first part of my career. I arrived to Israel in 1990 from Ukraine. At least now people started to understand that Russia and Ukraine is not the same. But for sure, I was already 22 years old, so my Russian is absolutely fine. And when I graduated medical school and started to do my residency and my fellowship in pediatrics, hemato-oncology, immunology, I was very interested in rare, unknown genetic diseases. One of them is osteopetrosis. Osteopetrosis, what does it mean? Osteo is bone, petros is stone. So the name is petrifying bones. Why it happened? Okay, so so the problem that we have in our bone two kind of cells: osteoblasts and osteoclasts. Osteoblasts building our bone all the time. So osteoclasts, they're supposed to destroy our bones. And in the case of osteopetrosis, osteoclasts are not functional. So it is a cause why these children finally they are blind and deaf. And
the bones lead to blindness?
Yes. How it can be? Because, we have an optic nerve, which is responsible for our vision. In this case, the optic nerve is it is within the hole in our skull, and the bones closing this hole. This is the cause, okay? Because the bones are growing and growing and growing, and finally they are blocking the hole where our optic nerve supposed to come, okay? So, and the one single treatment which can be curative is bone marrow transplantation. Why? Because when we are changing bone marrow, we are changing also all bone marrow producing cells. One of them are osteoclasts. So we are replacing the abnormal osteoclast with normal one. And in this case, I started with our Palestinian patients who came to us from Palestinian Authority because they have a very high rate of consanguinity. They have many genetic disorders. So they came to us with this disease. And we started to develop our own protocol of transplantation in this disease, which was very successful. And after it, the children from former USSR, they started also to come to us for this treatment because they have in Russia some endemic area, Chuvashia. They don't have consanguinity, but it is very close area for many years. So it is a cause why the gene of osteopetrosis is very common in this area. And they have many children who were born and didn't have any solution. So they found us and they came to Hadassah.
They came from there to here to receive treatment.
Exactly. And we treated them. And our results are very good. I think we have one of the best results around the world on the international basis. We published many papers about it, about our approach to osteopetrosis, about our approach to genetic diagnosis of osteopetrosis, about our protocol of treatment. So yes, we have a long-standing experience. We treated, I think, more than 110 patients already with osteopetrosis.
And you're continuing to do that today?
Now it's a little bit difficult because, the situation in Russia and our relationships are not very easy. But I think even in this case, we cannot if we are able to help, we are helping. So exactly now I have in our department a patient from Russia with osteopetrosis. But the problem, also money raising in Russia, and I'm not. Previously, we were in touch with some charity funds in Russia. But immediately with the beginning of war, I stopped any connection with any official parts or something like that in Russia. So now, but we are still continuing to receive the patients.
You were just talking about the war. And in fact, what I understand is that you've played a role in the health side of this war, in treating patients from Ukraine who have come over to Israel. Tell me a little bit about what that's looked like and how important it is to you to ensure that we continue to treat the people who are suffering from the war.
It is not a simple question, because I was born in Ukraine. I was born in Vinnytsia, and I came to Israel in 1990, and still I had a very close connection with my classmates and my friend and part of my family, which still stayed in Ukraine. Okay, so cousin of my husband, he's in Kharkov. So it's not simple at all. We don't have so many patients from Ukraine who are coming to Israel now, because for them it's much easier to go to Europe. Because in Europe, immediately they are applying to refugee status and they have full coverage by European Union for all medical treatment. But we have few patients from Ukraine who came here, and we are doing everything. Okay, but I think maybe even another aspect of our help to Ukrainians. Immediately when war was started, we thought how we can help them. And one of the best things that we are able to do is to provide education and to share our experience and to give what we have as a system, as a health system, okay? Our nursing and our medicine and our social workers. So all these parts of the system very advanced in Israel, and it is not the situation in Ukraine. So we started to build a program of bringing Ukrainian physicians, nurses, and social workers and laboratory persons to Hadassah and to teach them. So they are coming to us. We have already fourth group during this year who arrived to Hadassah, and we had physicians, nurses. The last group was completely from social workers. So they came to us. And we have also laboratory persons. Now we have a group of physicians and laboratory persons, PhDs, and they are working with us. They are staying with us. One group was with us 3 months. Other groups coming to us for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I have to say that all people at Hadassah, all our staff is so happy and so eager to share what we have, to share our knowledge, to share our experience, to share our approach to patient. So I think it is the way that we can help.
And you're overseeing that program?
Yes.
And these people, they're coming, they're learning, they're training essentially, and going back and taking that knowledge with them in order to help their people in the field.
Exactly. And we have two hospitals in Ukraine. We are working with them. One is Ohmadet. The second one is National Cancer Institute in Kyiv. And we have another non-commercial organization, and we started with them. Its organization was established by cancer survivors, by 5 ladies. Very nice, very clever, very intelligent. All of them survived cancer. And they established this non-commercial organization, and they are trying now during the war to help to cancer patients. And they send to us also social workers and psychologists. So we are working with them as well.
You speak a lot, about how much you love Hadassah, and it comes out so clearly in our conversation even now. For you, what is it that makes Hadassah so unique, and why do you enjoy working here so much?
I think, we have something very special at Hadassah. I graduated here medical school, okay? And I remember when I started, it was my dream. Wow. I want to work here because, we are treating equally all people, regardless of the origin, religion. And during this not so easy time and unstable time, we have a privilege because we are coming to work and we are doing our best. And it's absolutely not important what is the political thoughts, our political thoughts and our approach and our faith and beliefs. It's not important because we are treating the patients. And Hadassah was established before the state of Israel. Okay. So I think there's something the state of Israel even can learn from Hadassah. Okay, how we can be all together and do something for the good, for the good, okay, for the good of world, for the people, to help them. And I have in my team people from different backgrounds. I have Arabs and I have members of LGBT community. I have Russian speakers. I have for sure Israelis, and religious, non-religious. But it's so good to see how we are working together, and it is amazing. It is. We are doing it in our usual clinical work, but not only. We are doing it in research, in different aspects of our work, in the teaching of the students. I think there's something that I really love to come every day to this place.
Our listeners are not going to believe this, but what I understand is that when you were thinking about becoming a doctor, you were actually kind of turned away from that and told that only geniuses go to medical school. Our listeners, again, are going to be shocked because I think probably they will think you are one of those geniuses. But, you ended up doing it. You are here today. So what advice first of all, what happened? And second of all, what advice would you give to young people who might think, like you, that they can't do it?
So first of all, you have to believe in yourself, okay? And you have to believe that if you want to do something, it's possible to do with big investment, knowledge, hard work, definitely hard work. And I know that in Israel it's possible to do because we have many, many opportunities, and you have to take these opportunities. When I arrived to Israel, the people told me, no, you will never be a physician, forget about it. So I went to nursing school. I graduated nursing school here in Israel. And already when I graduated nursing school, my Hebrew was much better. So I started to understand that maybe I am able also to go to medical school. And I started medical school here at Hadassah, and I continued. And, on the different stages of my career, I knew that I'm doing the right thing, okay? Because I'm trying to help the people. I'm trying to develop my research. Coming every day to my work, and I see so suffering patients. So everything what I'm able to do is only to do better for them. And you have to believe, not only to speak and to cry, it's bad, nobody doesn't help me, they don't believe in me. Okay, you have to believe in yourself and to do by yourself. And finally, you have to believe that the majority of people around you are good people and they want to help. So I think in Israel we have very good ground, and it's possible to do everything.
Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything else I didn't ask you that you think I should have before we finish up?
I think we spoke about different aspects, but again, I have to say that I am very thankful every day to this country. And, I came from the country, from not very democratic country. So I am very happy that I'm in Israel because I am as a Jew, I think for me it is the best place to live in, this place. And I saw what does it mean to raise your children in democratic Jewish country, what is completely different from Ukraine and completely different from Russia. So we are working and we are fighting, and now it is not very easy time. But I think we have to remember that we are living in our own country, and we don't have we cannot allow to ourselves to start with all these absolutely not necessary, unnecessary fights, because there are so many things to do in medicine, in science, in our usual work. So I think this is my main message.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.